All of you, of course, familiar that Qatar is located in the north coast of the Arabian Gulf, and with an area of 11,427 square kilometers. Qatar's actually been developing in the last decades, especially with the new strategy, or development strategy 2030 for Qatar. So there was an expand in population, a dramatic increase in the population, and that is also aligned with the dramatic increase in food demand. So Qatar right now currently need to feed around 1.9 million people, which is equivalent to 2 million tons of food. So Qatar importing around 90% of their food sourced from different countries. Qatar is highly depending on imports to meet domestic food consumption needs. So this is a chart that shows the locally produced food and the imported food, the locally produced food and imported food. So you can see that majority of the cereals, oil and fat, sugars, other type of food, dairy products are highly depending on imported. And we have very minor locally produced food. But there is a good news about Qatar that in 2008, there was an initiative by Qatar government to create a food security program. The food security program actually stated the strategy for the coming 10 years to secure food for the peoples of Qatar. So now the investments in food production in Qatar is opened. So we are really welcoming any investments for food, to provide food for the population of Qatar. So about our inspections for the imported food. I'm talking from my perspective because we at the Supreme Council of Health, we are responsible about controlling imports. And of course, one of the major sections under our division is the Central Food Lab, which is the only food lab in Qatar. So in the inspection borders, we inspect through the customs and our offices around 1.5 million kilograms of imported food per year. Inspection depends, of course, on risk-based, and the steps include checking the documents and physical inspections by our inspectors, and of course, randomly selected sampling for lab analysis. Food safety and quality must be complying with GSO standards. So Qatar don't have actually right now Qatari standards. We only depend on GSO standards, and my colleagues, they've been touching base on the GSO standards through this journey today. So I'll show you the structure of the responsible government bodies for imported food only, not for the locally produced, because we have the locally produced under the municipalities. But for imported food, we have the Ministry of Economy and Trade, which they are responsible about providing the licensing and trade permits. They are also the negotiators and setting policies for SPS and TBT agreements. We have the live animals and plants and animal quarantines and plant quarantines and agriculture quarantines, and agriculture research under the Ministry of Environment. And the Supreme Council of Health, as I stated before, responsible about food imports and the food analysis. So all of the 4 governmental ministries are actually working under the law number 8, 1990, which is to regulate human food. I'll touch base only on the main issue. The main consists of this law, which are the specifications related to packaging, means of transport, and shops and places, of course, food premises, types of imported food, that must accompanied by, this is very important for importation, the health and other certificates like halal certificates, like mentioned by Mr. Saud, that is combined with the shipments. The monitoring of imported food after its arrival at customs, during its stay and until it is released. So even the logistics and transportation issues are also covered. Requirements to examine food to ensure its compliance with the law and GCC standards. Information regarding official certification and registration in order to allow food to be imported and circulated within the country. And of course, details regarding labeling and language. Okay, so I'll touch base on the main issues that we are facing with the imported food, or with, as regulators, we are facing some challenges and problems with the imported food. The main issue is labeling. And I don't know, maybe a lot of you, they do import to Qatar, or sorry, export to Qatar, and they face some issues with us in labeling requirements. Actually, they always come to us and say, Qatar, you are more strict than other GCC countries. And the answer is no, because we are following exactly the GSO standards, which is number 9 for labeling and packaging, number 9 by 2007, and GSO standards number 150 for expiration. This is the most challenges that we are facing with all importers, because there are lots of productions now in Europe and other countries that exceeding the shelf life, which is already in the standards. We have to know why this shelf life is being extended. There should be a scientific evidence around this. We cannot take it just for, yes, okay, you extended the shelf life from 1 year to 3 years. We as a government or a regulator, we should know what is the background behind this extension. It is our responsibility to make sure that this food is safe for human consumption. So the majority of these problems really occurs due to importers' lack of knowledge of the GCC standards. A lot of people comes to my office says, we're facing problems with your inspectors at the port, and we cannot manage how to get our food out of the... what is your problem? My problem is with the labeling. It's a simple thing. For you as an importer, it's a simple thing, but for us, it's not. So the first question comes to my mind, did you got your standards? Did you got the standards from the standard department or authority in Qatar? They said, no, what standards you are talking about? I said, GSO standards, because we are following the GSO standards. And they say, no, we don't have it, especially the ones I'm talking about, labeling and expiration. So they do import the food before knowing what are the real requirements of this country. So this is one of the major challenges that we are facing. Another challenge, which also occurs during period of the year, which is from May to October. This is a requirement by Qatar, actually, and I know that other GCC countries, I don't know if they do that or not, but it's the transportation of the goods, of the food. Especially, you know that our countries are facing hot weather, especially in summer, from May to October. The temperature might increase from 50 to 60 degrees. So we actually, as Qatar regulations, we set like, from these, in this period, we need the food items, special food items, especially the baby food, dairy products, some of the soft drinks and juices that should come in chilled containers. And they shouldn't be like exposed to heat everywhere, because you will get the shipment, it will stay in the ports for a time until you finish your papers and everything. So we need all these things to be addressed. So solutions. what's really the government mechanism to get over these problems? Okay, we have a national food control committee, which consists of these 4 governmental organizations, and they actually receive all the any claims from the importers through the right channels. That if their products has any problems or something, they can approach the committee for this. So the committee will look to the problem, and we have under the committee there is a scientific group that really feed into the committee. They take the any set of scientific evidence provided by the importers, especially in regards of extension of shelf life, and they study it scientifically on scientific basis. And we have actually, I have my colleague Khalid, maybe he can also add to this, that we changed a lot of some of the product's shelf life during this period using this scientific group. So updated information related to food trade will be inshallah available also soon within the couple coming months, next month, on the new SCH website. Importers can overcome issues and rejections they face by many ways. One of them that this committee also, the National Committee, has done an initiative since 3 years by conducting an annual meeting for importers, just to have a free discussion between us as regulators and the importers and the industry and the food businesses, just to take from them what do they really need and how can we help them in getting over their problems with us. So I really urge them to attend the annual meetings with us, educate those involved in the importation about GCC standards, and continuously review any announcements that will appear by the regulators. Here, please let me take you just briefly. Do I have time? 1 minute. Come on. Okay, first I'll go through the initiative by Qatar. This is a new initiative, and maybe Dr. Ibrahim Lemhaiza, he mentioned that it's by GCC countries. There was an approach for all GCC countries to create their food safety authorities, and Qatar, alhamdulillah, one of them. We wish to we have achieved a lot in this project. It's a project under the National Health Strategy now. So to unify, I know that a lot or majority of the problems that with the logistics or the importers, it cures because we have many sectorial or different sectorial governmental organizations involved to control food safety. So one of the initiatives is creating a food safety regulatory authority which will adopt a science and risk-based approach to food safety management in an integrated way through the entire supply chain from farm to table. So these are one of that shows you the transformation between the current system in Qatar and the new system, which will be, inshallah, with the Food Safety Authority. So there will be a modern law, which is already drafted, alhamdulillah, use of risk analysis methodologies, use of risk-based inspection systems, and use of documented SOPs, transparent standards and guidelines, improve the level of awareness of food safety risks to the community, develop a food safety culture, modernize laboratories, and we will expand the capabilities of these laboratories, develop compliance and emergency response capabilities and surveillance, and of course, develop a training and education system for all stakeholders, not only for the government entity, it's for all stakeholders. So, the achievements that we have done, the establishment law of and the creation of the Food Safety Authority is already drafted, and it's with the cabinet ministers for approvals. We have drafted the new and modern food law, which ensure good agriculture, manufacture practices and hygiene practices, monitor the application of quality systems throughout the food chain, and enabling the Food Safety Authority to have the power to set regulations and standards for food safety in Qatar. The main principles in this food law that consists of the food law is risk-based system, facilitates compliance, and it's a shared responsibility between the government and the industry, and this is the best practice, actually. And the FSA will take an integrated farm-to-table approach, and it will work closely with the GSO standards to create and update the food standards and enable, of course, the food security. So we managed, alhamdulillah, to draft, along with this food law, 8 regulations, different regulations, and one of them, of course, that really is for importance for you is the transportation. So it will manage all the transportation issues and storage issues, hygiene, importers and exports, licensing and registration, feed and agriculture. These are all drafted, and we are waiting for approval, inshallah. So I'll just touch base on the GCC initiatives as well. My colleagues, Dr. Ibrahim and Mr. Saud Al-Askar, already touched on this. So we have, inshallah, the unified food law. And our law, actually, just to state this, is aligned with the GCC food law. And we have we are in the stage of implementation of the GCC imported food guideline, and the guideline actually describes principles and regulatory requirements to be applied by the exporting country and the importing GCC countries in assuring the safety and suitability of imported food. Of course, this touches base on everything regarding even transportation issues. So I talked about the unified food law, harmonized inspection. There will be a harmonized inspection. So all GCC country will be like a one point of entry. If it enters to Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, then it is directly entering to Qatar without any more complicated requirements. So this is, I think, that you would like to hear. Finally, Qatar understands that the key to success in ensuring consumer protection during the trade of goods is the adoption of an integrated and harmonized inspection and certification system that follows best practice, which is risk-based and aligned with the WTO obligations. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.